Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another video here. How is everyone doing here? I hope everyone is doing great today here. So, because in today's video here, we're checking out like another Daily Bellringer history video here that we're going to be looking at today here, which is going to be about Ulysses S Grant here during his U.S. like his military career during around into the U.S. Civil War here. In other cases how he's fought and trained as a leader and a commander, and also how many many battles that he had basically fought here to defeat the Confederacy, and also to lead also to many of the Union troops here, and yeah, that's what we're gonna be looking at today here, and we'll be just looking into like maybe in battles such as the Battle of Shiloh and the Battle of Vicksburg and all that. So yeah, that's what we're gonna be doing here today here. And if you guys haven't seen like my other videos where I did cover over the Daily Bellringer videos here, I did some which is mostly about like including the Gilded Age and Andrew Carnegie and John C.D. Rockefeller here, and and as well as the Pullman strike, I think here, where I covered also all of these topics where I reacted to his videos here. And also like and I also and I want to say also I just got received also one of his comments also that he appreciated working in his videos here, and also looking at also me reacting to his videos, and also taking a look at different perspectives of the same relating also to the same topics in different time periods in world history, which I think is actually pretty cool here. And so that's why I kind of thought in my head here, why not just react to one of his videos again that I planned here, which is this video. And that's what we're going to be doing here. And yeah, so but before we get into this video, if you guys haven't yet, please be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to my channel if you're new, don't forget to comment, and turn on the bell notifications. That way you get notified by every video that I'll be posting in the second channel here. And yeah, no here. And if you guys want to see this video, the link will be in the description down below here. Also, don't forget to check out my my first channel where I do mostly gaming content from there. And also, if you guys haven't seen like on my my first channel here, I also now have a Discord also here, and if you want to follow me or chat or play video games and call, my username is greenlantern122003, the same username I have for Roblox, and my nickname from there would be just Mr. Aaron here, so be sure to go follow that also. But anyways, and with that out of the way here, let's get right into the video. Also, yeah, and also another thing before we get into this video here, after we are done reacting to this video here, I also want to show you guys also about if you guys have remembered also where I did a video on the Last Dawn about the American Civil War here. The game itself here had just gotten like basically an update here that it had like basically new maps in the game, such as Ninth Ward and Bayou Bienvenue. I'm sorry, I don't know how you actually pronounce it here, but yes, they did added like these new maps here, as well as the new like menu screen, as well as like the menu for new regiments, and also that and armies here in the Roblox game here, and only if I can like show you guys real quick here. Only if I can find it here, and let me just get into Roblox. Yeah, here, let me get real quick. Yes, there it is. There's the game there that I did a video on, Last Dawn. Yeah, it already had just got, the game itself already just got an update here, but before then, the game had been closed down there due to it being that the game was very violent, so that way the developers had then removed the blood and violence in this game there, because, yeah, because of mostly of a shooter and zombie game here. So, but yeah, no, here, that's what we're gonna be doing here. That's the same game here that I'm gonna be doing a video on again here. But anyways, going back to again, now we're gonna go to the video here.
Here we go. Ulysses S. Grant during the Civil War.
Ulysses S Grant.
Hello,
Here we
welcome
go.
to the Daily Bellringer. Please don't forget to subscribe and
like
take a
that
look at the
statue
questions
also.
down in the description.
There's a
Also,
statue
don't forget
of
to
him,
check
of
out
Ulysses Grant
dailybellringer.com where
over
you'll
there,
find
if you
more
see on the
resources
top
that
right.
go with many of the Bellringer videos. During the American Civil War, Ulysses S. Grant became one of the most important military leaders in United States history.
Yep.
Grant helped lead the Union Army to victory over the Confederacy and played a major role in preserving the nation. Grant was born in 1822 in Point Pleasant, Ohio.
Point Pleasant,
Before the Civil War began, he
Point
attended the
Pleasant,
United
Ohio.
States
Okay.
Military Academy
Right.
at West Point. After graduating, he served in
If you guys don't know, like, basically what West Point is basically, like, you know, that the point that I actually mentioned in some of my Guts and Black Powder videos here, where I mentioned that it's mostly as centered as, like, basically as a U.S. like military base here, where it's mostly like where U.S. soldiers basically are trained to go and like fight and be well more disciplined air soldiers, as well as also well trained, fed, and march, and how to shoot their rifles a lot more accurately, and also like, you know, how to charge, as well as also keep safe of rations and as well, okay? And this is what they had done here, as you can see in this picture, okay?
the military during the Mexican-American War. However,
Right.
after leaving the Army, Grant struggled to find
Right. Okay. Yeah.
success.
And also going back to the part also about the Mexican-American War that he mentioned. He although like with Ulysses S Grant here. I mean, his point of view also like he saw that as a like with the mean like when about the with this he viewed that of the Mexican-American War as basically as another type of American imperialism, as like an expansion all the way into U.S. Mexican territory here, and you know, and that's where, but he was then served as a soldier, as a general here, where he then also lead with his army into through the Mexican army here. Yeah, no, here, and it's also during around that time also that there were many critics, also the other critics, not just him here, but as well as also like Abraham Lincoln. He also criticized the American War here. Same like with the American expand, and same with also with the philosopher Henry David Thoreau here, which is why that he's mostly sided with the losing Mexican side here, as well as also refusing to pay his taxes here. But he was then like sentenced to jail here, in which then he got in later inspired into writing his own book, which is Civil Disobedience here in 1849 here, and that was mostly just about refusing like just resisting unjust like laws against like from the government here, and also promote like many rights here, and also unfair like laws and those are unjust here. So anyways, let's continue here.
struggled to find success in civilian life. He lived in St. Louis, Missouri for several years, trying his hand at farming, selling real estate, working as a clerk in a store, among other jobs. By 1861, he had moved here to Galena, Illinois, where he took a job working in his father's leather shop. When the Civil War began, it was here in Galena where Grant signed back up to serve in the Union Army. Eager to find anyone with military experience and training, Grant was first appointed colonel of the 21st Illinois Infantry, but he was soon promoted to a brigadier general in July of 1861. Grant's first battle of the war in which he commanded troops came on November 7th of 1861 at the Battle of Belmont in far eastern Missouri.
In Missouri, so like right here in Belmont in Missouri, closest to like where the border, if you guys can see here, is where Kentucky is also like bordered at here. Yeah, no, here, and that was basically his first battle here during the U.S. Civil War here between the Union and the Confederate troops here, in which there was fighting between. That's the fighting between on the both sides here, and which was basically counted as many deaths here between with the Union and the soldier, and like thousands between like the Unions and the Confederacy here.
Inconclusive, with both sides claiming victory victory. However,
Yeah,
it did give
well, you see here with where they use many cavalry as well as like armies and formations, and where how to use gunpoint range of fire at like the at the Confederacy here, and that's where you can see also here where they did a little raid also into their encampment, as should I say here, and
Grant his first action during the war. At the start of the war, many Union generals were cautious and slow to attack Confederate forces. But Grant was different because he believed in taking action. His first major victory, which gave him national notoriety, came in February of 1862 at the Battle of Fort Donelson in western Tennessee. Grant.
Oh yeah. If you guys haven't seen also here, we did I did like also like an Abraham my video on presentation on Abraham Lincoln and the U.S. Civil War video here, where I did mention in battles like Fort Henry and Fort Donelson here. That is when the U.S. Union troops here had basically when they fought a battle between the Confederacy and the battles of both Fort Henry and Fort Donelson here, where they were able to capture the many forts, these forts here, and capture their cannons as well as guns and ammunition here, as well as also to retaliate. It was mostly seen as a retaliation against the Confederacy here, and it was mostly here where that's where the Union troops gets more supplies here and faced a lot of morale here, and as well as also and that was like a next also and that's when Ulysses S Grant was basically kind of this general who becomes a lot more determined here, and he knows to move and formate his armies here, as well as also to how to command, how to march, and as well as fire and formations, as well as battlegrounds, and as well as also kind of guerrilla warfare tactics here.
Demanded the Confederate Army surrender without conditions. Because of this, he became known as Unconditional Surrender Grant.
Yep.
Many considered this victory to be the first.
Yep, that's also true here. That's why he was given Unconditional Surrender Grant here, because of also the soldiers here that they were not able, because they didn't they did not give up here during around the fight here, and they were continue to fight through it here, and fighting through against the Confederacy, whilst also gunshots as well as artillery, and as well as bombardments there, and as well as and later on also here that's how they got also how he got his nickname from there here.
First major victory for the Union forces during the war, as approximately 12,000 Confederates surrendered, and now Union forces could push further south. The next major victory for Grant came at the Battle of Shiloh in April of 18.
Although there was only a few thousand soldiers, also those who did fight, or hundreds to thousands, also a bit of thousands who also died during these battles here, though, just as a side note.
1862. This battle was one of the bloodiest battles fought in the United States up to that time. Confederate forces
the Battle
launched
of
a surprise
Shiloh
attack
here, we
against
also
Grant's
did
army
mention
in
here.
far southern Tennessee, almost on the border with Mississippi.
Yeah, in the Battle of Shiloh, though, that was also the same battle in the southern of the Tennessee here, where close to right here, where the Union troops here, where they fought the Confederacy, mostly in around a forested area here, and some of these troops had been firing, and also exchange fire, as well as also that they hide behind the trees here, as well as also use them as hiding techniques, or use them as guerrilla warfare tactics here, and here, and bloody as fighting had continued over here, probably maybe also in the 4,000, and also between the 2,000 and 4,000, also with between the both the Union and the Confederacy, as in wounded, but as well as probably maybe also somewhere in the 20 many thousands there, as between also or also to 40,000, like 42,000 to between the like casualties and deaths here, as like why this is called like as like the battle, as like the the bloodiest battles. Since this is why this is called the bloodiest battles here. But another one of those bloodiest battles is also around the U.S. Civil War. That's like if you compare also like bloody battles like Gettysburg here, or if you count battles like in D-Day, like in World War II, like in Omaha Beach or Okinawa here, or Stalingrad is another example. Or if you compare also like another wars like the First World War or the Mexican-American War, another example here. Those are like kind of like compared high a bit here of how many deaths were kind of like basically taken place also during around that like battles like that here, and like including Shiloh and Gettysburg that I mentioned.
On the first day of the battle, Grant's forces suffered huge losses and were driven from the battlefield with their backs to the Tennessee River. Grant, however, refused to retreat. On the second day of the battle, Union troops fought back and forced the Confederates to withdraw. The battle showed Grant's determination and willingness to continue fighting, even during difficult situations. Arguably, Grant's greatest success during the war came with the capture of Vicksburg, Mississippi in 1863.
Yep. And like I said, the Vicksburg in Mississippi, that's where they were able to get at because the Union soldiers were able to gain access, into the Mississippi River here. And this was in 1864, which was basically a year after also their victory also at the Battle of Gettysburg here, which was like turning of the tide of also the war here. And also during around the Vicksburg here, this is also the time where the U.S. had basically were starting to use these gunboats here, which were basically known as ironclads here, which are ironclads are basically more like the basically big boats here that are made of metal and iron here and strong steel, so that way they cannot be easily as stronger as easily as dent here, but though they can be hit also from cannon fire a bit here. And it was also being used by both the U.S. the Union and the Confederacy as well, okay, such as battles as well as Hampton Roads here, I think, and they use these also here to bombard at the battle at Vicksburg here, as well as and this was also considered as a Union victory here, and since they now control the Mississippi River, they now would gain inland also into that the Unions would into the Confederate held territories here, and as well as also gain to supply, and also so this will also see you see in this picture here, causing massive destructions, and also with these many buildings and many property here.
The city of Vicksburg was important because it controlled the Mississippi River. If the Union captured the city, the Confederacy would be split in two. Grant led a long campaign to surround the city and cut off supplies. After weeks of siege and bombardment, Confederate forces surrendered on July 4th of 1863. The victory at Vicksburg was a turning point in the Civil War because it gave the Union complete control of the Mississippi River.
Drinking water, by the way.
After his victory at Vicksburg in July of 1863, Grant went on to defeat Confederate forces at Chattanooga, Tennessee in November of that year. These victories gained Grant the attention of President Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln admired Grant because he was willing to fight aggressively against the Confederates. In March of 1864, Lincoln promoted Grant to commander of all the Union armies. After taking over, Grant worked closely with his friend General William Tecumseh Sherman to develop a new strategy to defeat the Confederacy, attacking from several directions at once. One of Grant's biggest challenges was fighting Confederate General Robert E. Lee in Virginia in the spring and summer of 1864.
Robert E. Lee, both
the Union
Army
through a series of difficult battles against Lee's forces, pushing closer to the Confederate
pushing away
capital
from
of
Washington,
Richmond.
D.C. D.C. also.
Even though Union casualties were high, Grant continued
and they were
to
going
pressure the Confederate.
And you can see also like right here also that they're fighting like basically near at like in this map here that there are fighting that's near also into like the Chesapeake Bay, like basically the river here, and they're moving away also from Washington D.C. here, and so that and between Grant and Lee that they were fighting here and all along here, and that Lee's forces were about to also retreat there, and that they were also then later also fought also like into the battles also with Richmond right here in Virginia here, and also that that this was also during later on the time here also that Sherman would then later march into the sea as well as march into Virginia, into Richmond there, and that way the soldiers had basically that by that time the Union soldiers had also cut down like basically their telegraph lines, build down buildings, as well as also basically many like fought many Union like Confederate soldiers here, and as well as also like use like building like basically in formations, and also like slowly pushing back like the Confederate forces here, and also like and that it was during around that time here that the Confederacy was almost in like kind of like in the brink of collapse here around that time period here.
Army. The war became a war of attrition as Grant knew he had more supplies and men than the Confederates and had to wear them down. Many called Grant a butcher because of the staggering losses suffered by the Union, but Grant was determined and kept fighting on. In April 1865, Richmond fell to Union forces under Grant's command. Confederate General Robert E. Lee surrendered to Grant at Appomattox Courthouse in Virginia on April 9th of 1865. This surrender effectively ended the Civil War. After the war, Grant returned here to Galena and lived in this home for a short period before being elected the 18th President of the United States. In 4 short years, Grant had...
Right, okay, yeah, now that he was granted as president here also here, this was basically years also like after also like after the Civil War also here, after also when Abraham Lincoln they basically got assassinated also here in Ford's Theater and Sumter's Theater here, and Ford's Theater, and like and as well as also with Andrew Johnson here with also like his reforms on like basically bringing back like the nation here during around the era of Reconstruction here, like basically reconstructed like basically the buildings, as well as paying also the damages that was caused from the Civil War, as well as also bringing like passing both the 13th, 14th, and the 15th Amendments here that basically trying to also free like many African American like basically slaves here that was abolished around like the United States here, and also like African American men here who are trying to like basically to vote here, and also that African American men were like basically were elected as legislators into the U.S. Congress here, and here, and they made also like the Federal Reserve Act, as well as also like acts for paying the land, as well as like increasing like tax income for the federal government there, as well as also that, as well as also like for relying on agriculture, and also like here, but there was also during around that time here like violence erupt and like the white supremacy during around that time period, as well as the KKK, which is basically established in Tennessee back in like 1866, and that's where they and then there was also like that they made laws also relying on the payment, as well as agricultural and basically on and land here, but they also rely on other policies such as paying the damages and repairs, as well as tariffs and income, trade, and goods here, And yeah, no here. And but then like, after all that, when like basically, Andrew Johnson basically had fired like one of his legislators, where when after like when he got impeached here, that's where then later on, when Ulysses S Grant, he was then later the president who then later ended the war of Reconstruction here through the compromise of 1877 here. And yeah, no, okay, and that's where fully ended the construction era, and that would later lead to the era of the Gilded Age here, which if you guys don't remember, that I've mentioned in my video here, where I covered, that was mostly about where America was basically thriving through many manufactured goods, through factories, as well as production goods, as well as many jobs, businesses, and as well as also like many important goods as tariffs, and also relying on like stocks markets and free market capitalism. And but there was also during around that time where corruption has also begun, like where many business and workers and bosses had or robber barons had basically took control of many of the businesses there, and there were also many strikes there and protests, and like the Pullman strike and the Hayman strike here. Yeah,
risen from an unknown store clerk in Galena, Illinois, to one of the greatest military heroes in U.S. history. Through his leadership and determination, the Union was saved and the nation remained one.
Yep, there's
Grant.
With
that, hopefully you learned something, and thanks for watching.
Alright, yeah, okay, yeah, so that was basically Grant here, and now, actually, here, and now I'm gonna want to show you guys here. Let's go to something extra that I just added here, that I showed you in the beginning of this video here. Alright, yeah, here. Alright, so here's the part here, which is the Last Dawn here of basically from the video game that I did cover before here. The Roblox game here, so which is the Ninth Ward and the Bayou Bienvenue here. So let's go over this real quick here, and yeah, so I'll be just going through reading through all of this here, and then I'll just kind of like summarize it in my own words here. So yeah, okay. Anyways, here we go. Okay, so alright, so the Ninth Ward is a new historic, which is located in New Orleans here, and it sits less than 2 miles of the northeast of the French Quarter, which is divided between the Industrial Canal here, into the Upper Ninth Ward and the Lower Ninth Ward. It was originally, that was a swampland, the low-lying, flood-prone area that attracted the immigrants and freed slaves in the 19th century seeking affordable land. But going to the 1920s, the canal has been bisected into the area, functionally alley that's separated into the diverse Upper Ninth Ward and the more isolated the Lower Ninth Ward. Its demographic shifts during the 1950s and the 1960s, where it's following a school integrated white flight that the Lower Ninth Ward became predominantly African American, which became 90% by the 2000, while facing economic decline and historic under environment investment, hurricane. There was also there had occurred a Hurricane Katrina, which occurred on August 29th of 2005, that the district had suffered a catastrophic devastation, and the beaches in the Industrial Canal and the Mississippi River Gulf outlet submerged the entire Lower Ninth Ward, and thousands of homes were destroyed and multiple lives were lost here. So yeah, no, it was basically that the Ninth Ward, like you see in this building here, it was used like basically like yeah, no, they built like basically industrial, like basically a canal here and floodplain where like many immigrants and African slave where they afford like basically land, and also like the demographic shifts, how populations have basically increased in the 1950s and 1960s. But like you see like in these fancy 19th century homes where there is usually beds, closets, houses, and as well as fancy bedrooms, kitchens, and living rooms here, where that's where like basically how the people had lived here, and during around the into the years of the here in the 19th century here in the New Orleans here, and yeah, no, like between like maybe how it basically grew and flourished through like say between the 1860s and also as the 1890s here, and yeah, no, and also, but it was then crossed with also later the canal had crossed through also through these this earthquaking here, destroying buildings, thousands of homes and lives have been lost here, which was basically it was suffered a catastrophic disaster here that I mentioned there, and no, yeah, and until like basically later on, that's where they then slowly moved into kind of because of that damage here. They then slowly went back to kind of more reconstruction here later on here. All right, now go to the next one. Next, we have Bayou Bienvenue here, which its history goes back into the War of 1812 here. Long before the modern equipment and the swamp and its surrounding marshlands, the natural haven and for Maroons escaped from enslaved communities who they lived in communally off land, and the Bayou was also historically and hidden underwater British forces that used to advanced during the War of 1812 here that led to the construction of colossal defenses like the Battery of Bienvenue here. And yeah, no, if it's a battery, it's just basically like if we use that as a fort or like an encampment here, where British soldiers basically like decided to rest or usually equip themselves with like rifle and gunpowder, as well as also or flintlock pistols here, as well as also training and formation here before they would together attack like many of the American forces here. And but the Bienvenue is also like a 400-acre wetland in New Orleans' Lower Windward, and was thriving fresh water into a crest-to-below swamp, and its historical haven for also escaped slaves here during around between the 1850s and going through like the 1860s also going through to the U.S. Civil War here, where like I said, when the many enslaved people escaped to the north there from the south to look for more jobs or opportunities here and to seek their own lives here, or they just simply decided also to join into the U.S. Civil War here after Abraham Lincoln's 1863 Emancipation Proclamation here. But going back to the Bayou Bienvenue here, it was decimated into a ghost swamp, and it was the construction of the Mississippi Gulf outlet in the 1960s, which was introduced lethal salt water. And going also to the Hurricane Tetran, like I mentioned in the Ninth Ward, it was because of the protective cypress forests had been destroyed, and the Bayou was unable to buffer the lower Ninth Ward. The MRGO pushed catastrophic storm surges directly through the wetland and breaching through the leaves and flooding through the surrounding neighborhoods here. Yeah, and it would cause, like I said, because of also this flood of massive destruction of the damages of homes and property and buildings, as well as also how many people had died around this flood here, and it was very horrible and it was very catastrophic. Yeah, pretty sad times there, but yeah, but I guess that's basically about it here. That was me covering both about the Daily Bellringer of the U.S. of Ulysses S Grant during the Civil War, and also about the 2 new extra maps here that were added in the the Last Dawn for Roblox as something a little bit extra that I added here since the game I thought to add that here also just for the end of the video, since the game had already got updated here that I showed you guys. And I and so yeah, no, this was a great video. I mean, I will be probably maybe gonna be reacting to Daily Bellringer's new other video, which is about the history of the Pony Express here, which I've already watched by myself here, between like 1860 and 1861 here, where that's the video which I'm gonna be covering later, where where the men were rattled into the horses who would go around through like Missouri all the way to his men here to all the way into Expedition here and later into California, which I'll get to in a future video here. But, yeah, no, I guess this is basically all about it here, and, what are your guys' thoughts here? What are your guys' thoughts on the video which I reacted to on Ulysses S Grant and the Civil War video here, and also on his, like, basically his military career here, and as well also on his, becoming as U.S. President here, and also what are my thoughts also on on this video here, on the extra part here of the Ninth Ward and the Bayou Bienvenue here of Roblox the Last Dawn here. Please let me know down here below in the comments section down below here. But that's basically all the time I have. If you guys enjoyed, please be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to my channel if you're new. Don't forget to comment, turn on the bell notifications. That way you get notified by every video that I'll be posting in the channel. And yeah, no, I think that's pretty much about it. So I'll see you guys in my next video. So, Aaron the History Buff, out.